KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the inland Northwest this past week.
Well, 6 months ago, those two devastating wildfires hit within hours of each other in Elk and here in Medical Lake. And as you can see behind me, not a lot of people in this area have even started the process of rebuilding. Long-term recovery groups say that's because a lot of people have just been on hold awaiting a decision on FEMA assistance. At Reimagine Medical Lake, a new door is open for President Jerry Johnson.
It is.
Tuesday's long-awaited federal disaster declaration isn't just welcome news.
Oh, I was very surprised.
It's an answered prayer for homeowners she meets with daily.
We have been saying soon. Hopefully we'll get a response soon.
A state disaster was declared within days of the August wildfires in Elk and Medical Lake. In October, Governor Jay Inslee asked President Biden for such a declaration on the federal level, which would open up FEMA funding for hundreds of victims.
Much of our opportunity to help our people, our victims, was in delay waiting for FEMA.
Dick Zienert heads the long-term recovery group Elk Strong. He's helped push from a local level, along with Washington representatives sending more letters to the White House to move this decision forward. Zienert wasn't sure it'd ever happen.
So we're very excited. Don't know how excited to be because we don't know what the implications are going to be.
Tuesday's announcement didn't include a dollar amount for the federal aid, but the White House says funding is available to local, state, and tribal governments and some nonprofits. Individuals can now apply for grants for temporary housing and home repairs or low-cost loans to cover uninsured property loss. Zienert says most people weren't adequately insured to cover hidden costs like asbestos testing.
So now they're sitting with a clean spot, but their money's gone. And you think, wow, I feel so sorry for them. So hopefully FEMA can come in with some funds to help rebuild now that they've borne the cost of the mitigation. You know, I'm excited to find out what doors are open to our people now.
For those that are really stuck and are struggling, I think this might be the leverage that they need.
Both recovery groups are now reviewing the declaration and what it could mean for hundreds of victims ready to move forward. And people can start applying for that FEMA assistance right now. We have a link to help figure out how to apply at krem.com.
I think it's obvious that he committed a second-degree assault. I'm surprised that it took them 6 months to come to that realization.
That's the reaction from attorneys Timothy Note and Josh Maurer a day after Spokane police recommended assault charges against Spokane County Sheriff's Deputy Clay Hilton for this incident.
It's a crime to be in the park after hours. This is considered a park.
It happened back on August 14th when 62-year-old Kevin Hinton, who'd been driving for 11 hours, pulled off at Terrace View Park to take a nap. His attorneys admit their client was annoyed and didn't hand over his ID, but he did offer to move. They say what happened next never should have happened.
You're refusing to tell me who you are, and you're probably going to end up going to jail.
Oh, for not giving you my name?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, then you have at it.
Okay. Go ahead and stand up for me. Turn around, face the car. Turn around, face the car.
Don't put your hands on me, pal. Listen.
You are going to get hurt. If
I
you don't
am?
listen to what I'm telling you.
Are you video recording this?
I already told you that. Get on.
Hey,
Get on the ground. You're under arrest. Give me your hands.
Okay.
Give me your hands.
Okay.
There is nothing that our client could have done to precipitate the beating that he received.
Hinton suffered 8 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a concussion, among other injuries. He was in such bad shape the jail refused to book him and instead took him to the hospital where he stayed several nights. Deputies originally cited Hinton with resisting arrest and obstructing a police officer, although prosecutors later dropped those charges. Note and Maurer say their client is still shaken to the core.
Since this incident, which is now over 6 months ago, our client has not returned to his home. And the only reason he hasn't returned to his home is because he knows that Deputy Hilton has his personal address, and he is in fear for his safety based on what happened to him.
The attorneys also question why it took several weeks after the incident until Hilton was placed on leave and for the sheriff's office to send the case to Spokane police to review.
We're also aware
that other members of the sheriff's office had viewed this video, and not one representative of the sheriff's office, before we took the body camera to the prosecutor's office, came forward and said, hey, we've got a problem here. Hey, this is bad.
The U.S. declared measles eliminated in the year 2000, but over recent years, we have seen more cases crop up across the country, including here in Washington. Health experts say that's because of lower immunization rates. Spokane Regional Health District confirms this is the first measles case in Spokane County since 2015. When 2 people from the same home were infected.
I think we're hopeful for something similar.
Mark Springer with SRHD says the risk to most people is low, especially those who are vaccinated, though immunization rates, specifically among young children, has trended down statewide.
It is always a concern in a setting with high community immunity or herd immunity, that's above 90% or above 95%. Transmission, tends to peter out a little bit.
Washington Department of Health data shows among kindergartners, immunization rates have declined after 2020's 5-year high. Last school year, only around 87% of kindergartners had completed all required vaccinations, which includes the MMR shot.
There are very few allowed exemptions for the measles vaccine.
Dr. Sarah DeHolst says that's due to state law enacted in 2019. It bars families from claiming personal or philosophical exemptions for the MMR vaccine. That was also the year the state saw its largest measles outbreak in nearly 3 decades, with 90 cases. Washington Department of Health graphs show a huge drop in personal exemptions from 2019 to the next school year, but a huge jump in religious exemptions in the same period.
Although our overall kindergarten vaccination rates might be a little bit low, our MMR tends to stay pretty hot.
In Spokane County, just under 83% of kindergartners have completed all vaccinations. Specifically looking at measles, 91% of kindergartners statewide have gotten the shot, but that number hovers around 87% in Spokane County. Now, if you are unvaccinated and think you've been exposed to measles, Dr. DeHolst says you can still get an MMR shot within a couple days of exposure, which can help prevent infection. For those who aren't eligible for the shot, there is the possibility to get an immune globulin within 6 days. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Those checks led to a lot of emails to our Verify team, including from one viewer who wrote, received a $120 check from the Attorney General of Washington that I paid more for chicken and canned tuna, saying, my office filed lawsuits against more than 20 corporations. Another viewer wrote, how'd they know me? The check is made out to my husband and he never shops, nor does he use a debit card or write a check. Your help will be appreciated. And finally, another viewer asks, I need to know if they're really sending out these checks. She is very low income and I don't want her to cash it if it's not real. So we took those questions to the man whose name is at the top of the checks.
We keep getting emails from people who've received one and they're asking us, are these real?
So I have good news for your viewers. The answer to that question is yes, they're absolutely real.
So now that we know the checks are real, where's the money coming from? Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson said the money's the result of lawsuits his office filed against several chicken and tuna producers. He successfully argued those major companies engaged in price fixing in order to charge more for their products.
They got together and said, let's not engage in competition where prices go down, we make less money. Let's get together, inflate prices, and keep them there, and get rid of the competition. Well, guess what? That's illegal.
As a result of the judgment, Ferguson announced that he was returning roughly $40 million back to Washingtonians. But not every resident received money. Instead, the refunds were sent to Washington households whose income is 175% of the poverty line. Qualifying individuals were mailed $50. Qualifying households with more than one person were sent $120.
So we thought it made sense in this instance to go to folks most impacted. In other words, folks who economically are struggling a bit more, and send those 400,000 households, about 1.2 million Washingtonians, send those 1.2 million Washingtonians a check for either $50 or $120.
So we can verify the checks from the Washington Attorney General are real. The money comes from price-fixing lawsuits filed by the state against several major tuna and chicken producers.
We'll let what you're about to watch do most of the talking, but Nathan brought me this idea last February. We were both on paternity leave. He just had a son and I just had a son. A full year later, learning more about our history here in Spokane, it's been an absolute honor. Right here in the basement of KREM 2, there's a story that hasn't been seen in over 40 years. The tape it lives on is outdated. We don't even have the equipment to bring it to life, but we found someone out in Suncrest who could restore what was lost.
Okay, so that's our test tape.
After a long career in video production, Dan Mortimer closed his studio and moved the equipment into his basement.
So when I moved out here, I had to just decide what to keep and what not to keep. So I decided to keep broadcast stuff, 3/4, 1 inch, stuff like that. So.
Yes, one message is Spokane is a great city, something I've said all the time.
Thanks to Dan, we have video. Damn. It's kind of messed up, but it'll do.
There's some color.
171,000 people live in this city, but only 1.6% make up the black population. Yet, on election day, Jim Chase was elected the city's first black mayor. The victory was even a surprise to Chase.
I didn't think I would get 62% of the votes.
This is the story of Spokane's first and only black mayor. He came to Spokane in a boxcar, started out as a shoe shiner, and ended up in the city's highest office.
He never had a high school diploma. He learned because he was a ferocious reader, and that's where he got his knowledge from.
James Everett Chase.
It was just historical, and we welcomed it.
A man who broke barriers as the first black city councilman in 1975. And as an overwhelmingly popular mayor at a time when the Aryan Nation headquarters was just 30 minutes away in North Idaho.
My memories of him is as a young person, another bigger-than-life person in Spokane in the black community.
Maybe it was his tall stature, his magnetic personality, or the fact he married Eleanor Barrow, a renowned civic leader whose father founded Spokane's first black church. Whatever it was, people seemed to gravitate towards Jim Chase.
He was just well known. When he walked into a room, everybody applauded or clapped or talked to him. He just had such a pleasant demeanor.
If ever there were a champion of youth in the Spokane community, it was Jim Chase. With an infectious, happy-go-lucky spirit, Mayor Chase was a strong advocate for children, whether it was lobbying for free swimming in public schools or establishing a youth department for the city of Spokane.
The Youth Commission, one of Chase's crowning achievements, came at the end of his term when his health was failing.
And when he finally was in the hospital, they hooked up the wire for the channel so that he could speak from his hospital bed, and he really gave his heart out to the council.
And a year from now, we will see a big difference in the youth.
And they voted it in.
People didn't know how ill Jim Chase was, so he didn't really get to see a lot of the fruits of his labor.
And I went down to the hospital to see Mayor Chase, and he had just passed. And Eleanor was right beside him, standing there at the bed, and she was talking to him. And it was the most beautiful words I have ever heard about her love for him, what he meant to her.
In 1987, less than a year and a half after he left office, Jim Chase lost his battle with cancer.
I heard the outpouring at his funeral was overwhelming.
Over 1,200 people attended the ceremony. But as the decades passed and new residents moved in, Chase faded into the background of history.
The people that knew him, they're gone too. A lot of them are gone.
How history is remembering him with all these named institutions, what I think is the most valuable is the legacy he has left in people.
You were the first black city councilman. You are the first black mayor. Is there a message behind this?
Yes, one message is Spokane is a great city, something I've said all the time.
Mayor James Chase was born in 1914. He arrived in Spokane from Texas in 1934, and he served his community, and his legacy will live on for years to come. In the studio, I'm Brandon T. Jones.
The one-eyed Liftian, I go by dude. I'm always nice, yeah, I'm never rude.
You don't need two eyes to see that dude knows his rhymes.
He's the Lifty rapper, and I'll wear my black eye patch.
Knows his chairs.
There you are. Good job.
And his snow.
Slushy and wet. Springtime, we get a lot of corn snow. And then we have snert, which is snow-dirt mix.
We've seen a lot of that this year, even at the top of Mount Spokane.
We're right now, I think, at about 55% normal snowpack. It's at 46 inches currently, so we're well below.
The mountains of eastern Washington and North Idaho are currently under moderate and severe drought due to the lack of snow on the ground.
You know, as a lifty, we deal with snowpack pretty much every day.
This lack of snow on the ground isn't necessarily a new thing.
2003-2004 season, I believe they closed on Valentine's Day.
USDA data depicts a decrease over time in the snow water equivalent at snowtels around the region.
2013-14 season, we suspended mountain operations the Sunday before President's Day.
Between 1955 and 2022, all stations in eastern Washington and North Idaho recorded a reduction in peak snowpack. Higher elevations, that number is just over 20%. One lower elevation station in North Idaho measured a drop of more than 70% from 1955 to 2022.
But we're getting snow. We got a little bit today, and every little bit helps for sure. It's all up to Mother Nature. You're the weatherman, right?
The mountains of eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, and North Idaho sit in the rain shadow of the Cascades. While the Pacific Ocean serves as an excellent moisture source for much of the western side of those states, as that moisture moves from west to east or zonally, it first hits the mountains, pushing upward. That rising motion in the atmosphere causes the warmer, moist air to first cool, then condense, forming clouds and eventually precipitation. That enhances the amount of rain or snow that you see in the Cascades, giving you more than you otherwise would and squeezing out more moisture than otherwise would get squeezed out. But as you move up and over the mountains, all that air has to come back down. This sinking motion quells cloud cover and precipitation, leaving much of central Washington and Oregon in a rain shadow or a desert. But as you move east from there, things get interesting once again. As elevation starts to increase in eastern Washington, rain and snow become more prevalent. Once again, the increase in elevation enhances precipitation.
How's your day going, guys?
Whether it falls as snow
there you go.
Or rain.
You learn to deal with the elements. Previously frozen, liquefied precipitation days, because we don't use the R word up here.
But it's not just the overall amount of snow. It's also how long that snow sticks around. Between 1982 and 2022, the Northern Rockies, right where we are, has seen an average decrease in about 15 to 20 days per season of that snow being on the ground. So not only are we not getting as much, it's just not sticking around as long, and early spring warmth is melting it much faster.
I think the biggest impact is going to be environmentally. It all depends on mountain snowpack is so important, especially for this region.
Dude sees it here on the mountain.
Come on out!
But we will all see it when it comes to mountain runoff, increase in fire danger, and a longer fire season this summer.
How's your day going?
For Environment Northwest.
Good. What's your name? Noah. Noah, have a good run, Noah.
I'm meteorologist Jeremy Legoo.
You can expect quite a few things to stay the same for the 48th running of Bloomsday. Same 12-kilometer course, same traditions, but this year kicked off with some big changes, like a first-of-its-kind t-shirt reveal.
The volunteer t-shirt. Come on, you guys.
Okay,
volunteer
so you'll have to wait a little longer for a peek at the coveted finisher shirts.
This is the t-shirt reveal. This is the volunteer shirt. and we're giving a nod to the 50th year since Expo.
But this year, the Bloomsday Association is revealing a bit of what to expect for Bloomsday 48. This year's charity of choice is Shriners Children's Spokane, also celebrating a big anniversary, 100 years of providing care to kids.
In that first year, we cared for 115 kids. In 2023, fast forward to last year, just in our outpatient clinic alone, we had 17,000 visits.
The nods to the 50th anniversary of Expo 74 can also be seen in the souvenir medal and in this year's poster, designed by Art Mertz.
To kind of get the connectedness of community with the lines and the changing of the seasons with the gradients, and of course the A with the Expo 74.
And it's not just the big race seeing changes. Junior Bloomsday returns for its third year in a row.
And something new this year that we are really excited about is to share that we are starting a scholarship fund for kids in Title I schools who may not be able to participate.
We also got an early introduction to this year's Hall of Fame inductee.
Bloomsday Hall of Fame for this year, Bill Robinson.
Better known as the Doomsday Hill Vulture.
Interesting fact, he's been doing this about 36 years now. And in that time, he's in that uniform for 5 hours.
You'll see Bill and all the other traditions you've come to know and love along the Bloomsday course in less than 3 months. Hey, Bloomsday, 72 days away now. May 5th is the big race. You can register right now for just $28. We have all the info at KREM.com. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Sela and Group 14 are two companies putting Moses Lake on the cutting edge of advanced battery technology. Last year, these companies invested each of their $100 million federal grants into building manufacturing facilities here. Here at Sela, everything from this Moses Lake facility will be commercial large-scale production for electric vehicles. And Group 14's BAM2 facility will be the world's largest factory for advanced silicone battery materials.
It's Moses Lake's moment.
Washington Senator Maria Cantwell, Governor Jay Inslee, and the U.S. Secretary of Energy visited the companies to see firsthand how they're progressing.
It's exciting that here you guys in Moses Lake are really leading the way. It's such a wonderful story, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Sela recognizes not only did their grant fund the construction of their facility, but it also invests in the community. That's why Sela partnered with Big Bend Community College in Moses Lake to support a workforce pipeline.
What we envision is that a high school student could graduate from high school with a certificate or a degree where they can walk right into a job at Sela.
Construction of Sela is still underway, with production expected to start next year. Over at Group 14, its CEO and founder is looking forward to starting production this summer.
We are going to lead a transformation from lithium-ion batteries to silicon batteries, and it's going to start and grow right here in Moses Lake.
CEO Rick Luby says 80% of Group 14's hires from last year are from the local workforce.
That's what's really exciting to see, how much Moses Lake could really become the epicenter of this clean energy ecosystem.
In Moses Lake, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
I just really wanted to try something new and something big, and a guitar just seemed to be my main focus. My name is Cameron Davenport. I'm a glass artist here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. There were many guitars that I could have chosen to do, but Eddie's stands out. Eddie also is a huge inspiration to me, as well as many others. I started blowing glass back in 2003. I love doing the work and I love what it means to people. The Floyd Rose Bridge right here was probably the most difficult part of this entire piece. I remember I spent a good solid 2 days just on that piece. There's a lot of intricate parts. The whole piece is glass, except for the cigarette up here. The strings are some sort of a rubbery vinyl material, but the rest of the piece is completely hand-blown glass. This is by far the most challenging piece that I've ever put together. I can't say that there was really anything about this piece that was easy. There was a good month of research that went into it before I started the project. I've never made anything this big. It didn't really, as a whole piece, fit into my kiln, so I had to fire each section individually. I've got a solid 3 months of work into this piece. I ran into a lot of problems along the way building this piece. I learned a lot, and if I were to ever make another glass guitar, there's a lot of things I would do different, though I'm very happy with how this piece turned out. Eddie, I love you. You're a huge inspiration. Rest in peace.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for it at the bottom of the navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.